So hello, it's Cherry in Florida again, and here's my latest clock. It's meant to be a cuckoo clock, although I couldn't find any reasonable sort of cuckoo type movements for clocks. So this is a clock where the cuckoo has escaped, and in fact in this case, because it's Christmas, it's actually a cardinal. So this is a Christmas cardinal clock instead of cuckoo clock, but it's quite fun. It's a wall clock, and I'm going to go to the screen in a moment, into the design space to show you the pieces. This is partially put together, but I'm going to tell you how I got this far and how we're going to finish it off. So it's a pendulum clock, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So over to design space. Okay, so here we are in design space looking at the cuckoo clock, or rather cardinal clock in this case, as it's a Christmas one, and here are all the pieces. These are the roof and tile sections. This is the decorative heart, the star on the wall, the side wall, and we've got the deer and snowman actually, and trees, fir trees, and these are the pine cones that make the decorative weights, although they're not functional, but they look like cuckoo clock type weights. And this is going to be the pendulum piece here. Some of these pieces are layered up several times. You don't have to cut them out several times. I liked this sort of look that is as if it had been carved out of wood, but you could just put one piece if you wanted to. Actually that one is one piece, but I did, when I made it, layer it up several times. This is the chimney pieces that go together. These are the external coverings for the chimney, although like all these things, you could try painting them instead if you wanted to. And these are the internal linings for the chimney, so if you'd painted it you wouldn't need those. This is the back of the clock. This is the access to the battery. That's where you hang it up. These are the usual construction strips. You may need to cut more than this, or cut them down to size, or various things, but there's a start. You need green ones and you need red ones if you're doing the same colours as me, and these are just craft ones, which I put the basic clock together with in the first place, the chipboard pieces. This, what I used as Cricut glitter cardstock, and wanted it to look a bit like snow, and that goes under there, and this piece goes underneath the whole clock. What else can I tell you? There's Santa. He's going to be standing in the chimney when we get to him, or just on the edge of the chimney. He's also in several layers. The windows, there are holes in the clock, and I put a little piece of vellum behind each of them, so light could shine through. I haven't got down to planning what I'm going to put inside to light it up. And these were matte board windows to give it a bit more depth when you put it on the top. And these circles here are in case, like me, you have a clock movement with a deep spindle. This is just to put extra thickness behind so that the spindle doesn't stick out too far at the front of the clock. And these are the little balcony pieces that go over it. Well, they're not balcony, they're fences really. That's the balcony up there, and you'll see how I put all the pieces of those together in a moment. And I think, this is the decorative roof piece and the layered pieces that make that up, and I used some of these strips underneath it. You'll see how to join it to the top of the roof, and the same with joining the balcony and the little fences. I cut down some of these strips to do that. In fact, I had some black pieces of cardstock as well, which you might want to do. This is all matte board, or it actually says on it black presentation board. I get from my art shop. You can probably find something similar on Amazon, but that's what I used. But mostly I used Cricut heavy chipboard for the main base of the clock. So I think I've come to the end of that, and I'll get back to you and show you how I put it together. Okay, so back again. So what I've done so far, as my usual way, I have put it all together with construction strips, the usual thing. First of all, I put all the craft pieces together with construction strips, exactly like these, and I put one on each seam on the inside with the craft. I think if I hold it up like this and turn it slightly, you might be able to see that. I hope so anyway, I can't really see from here. And then when I put the outside pieces together, where the green walls are, I used green construction strips, like this one. Oh, that's not one, but anyway, yes, just like this. Because then when you stick the outer walls on, you haven't got, where they don't quite meet at the edges, you haven't got any raw pieces or anything you feel you need to cover over. So I stuck the green walls part with green strips. I stuck the roof, as you can see, just here, with red ones, and I did that in various places according to the colour of what I was putting down. So I just, here's one that's not quite stuck on, so you can see what I mean here. So I'm going to glue that into place under there, and I think I'm going to use, for the larger pieces, I quite like to use Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1, but you can just as easily use your white glue or your art glitter glue, but this time I'm just going to put this on with this. Make sure that whilst you don't put too much near the edges, that you do go right up to the edges and corners, because you don't want those coming away from your final project. I'm going to put that into place. Sometimes, because of the thickness of the chipboard, and this is all made, this part is all made from Cricut heavy chipboard, which cuts very well on the maker. But if you don't have a maker and you want to make this on your Explore, I would suggest trying 2 or 3 thicknesses of Cricut craft board, because that works quite well too. So there we are. I've glued that one into place. I've glued on the base, which has got a space in it for the pendulum to come through. There's a hole in the front there for the clock. There's a hole in the back to hang it onto the wall. I'm not putting a door on this one because I feel when it's hanging on the wall it doesn't need to. The windows, which are stuck on afterwards, I'm going to show you one in a moment, have actually got vellum behind them. That's just a little piece of Cricut vellum, but you could use any vellum. The deer and the door and so on are several layers, as I mentioned when I was looking at the screen. I'll show you how I put the trees together, and I'll show you how I put the roof on. So let's see what we need to do next. The deer are in several layers and they're just glued to the front wall here. There's this little fence, which I'll show you how I put that together, and we have a balcony to go up here, and a pretend door for the cuckoo or cardinal to have come out of the clock, which, as I say, has got a little sign that says he's gone home for the holidays. And we're going to put, or I'm going to put, the little cardinal, which is here. I'm going to put him on the second hand of the clock, so he'll be flying around with the time, with the second hand. So I think that's a cute idea. So I think the first thing I'll show you is how I put the roof together. So you've got think it's 10 pieces, and they alternate between that shape, the 3 round bumps, and the one with the 2 bumps in the middle, and the other one cut in half at each end, to give the sort of tiled effect which you see there. But in order to get them in the right place before I glue them on, I used some, now just looking for it, I might have to switch you off while I find where I put it. It's probably stuck to me somewhere. But I used poster putty to hold it in place, a bit like this one here, for each piece. And then when I was satisfied they were all evenly spaced, I took them off one at a time and glued them on. Oh, I found it. So the one at the top isn't glued on yet either, because I've got a decorative piece to go along the rooftop, which I'm going to glue into place before the final tiles, as it were, go on. But anyway, we'll stick them in place first of all. I'll show you. I could have done with a bigger piece of poster putty, or if you're in England, of course it's blue tack. So anyone watching me from over there, that's what I mean, blue tack, white tack, or I think they call it poster putty here. So we've got the first one is the 3, so I'm looking for a 2 to go on the next one, and when I put it into place, I try to get it just so it just comes, this point just hides the edge of the next one, and that's how I measured them to fit on. So I'm push that one into place for now, and I'm going to do that all the way up, and that's one with 3, like that, and another 2, I have to turn this round so I can see that I'm getting them in the right place. Do that all the way up, and also make sure they're lined up at the edges as well. So, but then that really matters when you actually come to glue them on. So we need another 2 piece here, and another 3 piece, and these are actually mat board. That one's covered on both sides, but generally they're covered on one side with paper that cardstock that I chose in the colours I wanted. I haven't got round to painting anything yet. I guess you could spray paint these pieces, or spray paint it when you, I think it would be easier to spray paint before you tried to assemble it, or rather, yes, before. But I still think it's just as easy to cut the pieces out in the coloured cardstock that you want, and because I've got plenty of cardstock, and I'm pretty sure that most of you have too, if you're anything like me, in which case you know, you may as well just pick out what you've got, or find some that you like and put that on. So we need another 2 one just here. And that seems about right, and another 3. I'm going to turn it round a minute just to make sure I've got them lined up reasonably. That looks about right, and another 2. And then if you find you've got some that are too close together, you can, while they're on this putty, you can move them around a little bit and adjust where they are. And then when you're satisfied they look quite even and reasonable, that's about the same on either side. Then you can start to glue them. So I'm going to look and adjust mine slightly into place, and it looks about right to me, and I'm going to start gluing them. So I take off the bottom one first, remove the putty, put the glue on. This time I'm using not the Fabri-Tac but this art glitter glue. I think I need to put the thing, and yes, I do have the fine tip for it as well, but what I'm doing today, I found it was just as easy to use the tip that actually came on the bottle, and it still doesn't want to come out. Just a moment. Let's tip it up, give it a shake, and that should work. Put that over there, and yeah, this time it's going to come out. Yes, it is. In fact, it's coming out probably a little more than I wanted. And make sure a good amount of glue, but not too much so it's going to squeeze all over the place. In particular, you need it at the top part, and then just ease that into where you want it, and try not to get glue on the rest like I just did, and hold that in place until it's settled. That's it. And then remove the next one, take the putty off, make sure your ends are, before that one sticks itself permanently down, make sure you're even at the sides as well, and do the next one. And in case you can't see what I'm doing, I will put it here, and so push that in there. I'll have to turn it around again to make sure I'm in the right place, but I'm showing you how I do it. Hold that in place. I'm just going to check that it's even, because I really need to look at it face on, and that's number 3. And I'll do one more, and then I'm going to switch you off while I glue the others on, because otherwise you're going to get incredibly bored. And that's my computer making loud noises because it's notifying me of emails. And there we go. That one looks about right. I'm going to turn it round. So I've now got 4 of them where I want them on the roof, and I'm going to switch you off while I stick these ones in place, and I'll come back to you and show you what I'm going to do at the top. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, we're back. I did glue them off video. I did put a little pool of hot glue and pushed it into place, and it's probably just as well you didn't see me because I've got one finger stuck in one pool of glue, and I don't think I said any rude words, but you don't want to hear me squeaking with glue on my fingers. Anyway, they're firmly in place now, so we've got the trees on. Now I've got another little fence to put on like that one, and here are the pieces. Let's move that out of the way, and that. Here's one of the pieces, and there's the 2 ends, here and here. Let's put them further forward so you can see them. And then they're backed with a black board, and I'm first of all going to stick the black board together with some very small pieces that I didn't bother to put in the pattern of cardstock, just made into tiny construction pieces, corners, and I'll put those on first. So I will show you. I've just got a piece here with that's folded down the middle. There we are, and I'm going to stick that on one end of the fence first. and then this one of the end pieces. Make sure you know which way round you want it to go. I think I want it that way up, so I'm going to put the tall piece. I cut mine down slightly from the ones on the pattern. You might want to do the same thing, or yours might fit just as they are. Mine are slightly smaller than the pattern ones in the design space. So, actually I want it on, no, I do want it on the outside. So that's, I make sure the bottom is level so that it will stand up when you put it in, and that it's going to go like that. And I'm just going to put another little piece on the inside. Another little piece of cardstock. I'm just folding it with my fingers. I'm not bothering to score it. And that's going to go inside here. Inside that piece there. And both ends I'm going to do that. So that's nice and strong. And I'm going to repeat the process with the other piece, the other end. Just a tiny piece of cardstock, bent over, make a little tiny construction strip, just like we do on the house, only tiny. And go on the inside. There. And one more on the outside. And I've got another piece here that I can cut down. Make another little strip. On the outside. Maybe I needed a slightly bigger one. I didn't cut that a bit too small. I'll just do it by eye really. That's a bit better. And put that over that join, and that's not very, let's do that again. That wasn't very level at the bottom. So make sure your corners are, and bottom parts are all lined up, and then stick this piece over the top. Like that. And there's your little fence. And now I've got a little black construction strip, because I want to stick it down to the ground, and I don't want it to be taller than the actual fence, so I might cut it down. And first of all, I've got to cut it to fit inside there. You'll see what I mean in a moment. And that probably needs just cutting a little bit narrower. And then I'm going to glue that one into here, behind the fence, and level with the bottom, like that. And you'll see why in a minute. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm just going to stick these on the outside, the patterned pieces. Make sure you've got them lined up. And down level with the ground. And there we are, like that. And then stick the end pieces on, whichever way round you decided fits best. Mine's going this end. from here. And then have another go here. And then I've got the little fences put together. Now I'm looking around because I have a little white strip to go on top of here to match the snow, and I can't see it at the moment. It should be around here somewhere, and I may have to leave you to go and cut another one because I can't see it. And I need, oh, I see it now. Here it is. That I cut already. Again, I did it by hand. I didn't make a pattern piece for it, but that fits just inside here, so that when you stick it down up close to the house, it just looks like there's snow on the inside of it. So that bit goes on top. That piece we just stuck in. It doesn't matter if it extends past it, but you don't want the black to show. So now I've got a piece that looks like that. Alright, and now I'm going to glue that. I'm going to look right round the snowman, just to the side of the door. Try not to block into the trees too much, but just about there to match the other side. And that looks about right. And bend it in so it's the right size. And I'm going to glue not only the bottom of the black part, but I'm going to glue the edges of the mat board too. And I'm just going to try and get this in the best place, and then I'll turn it round and show you. Something like that to match the other side. Yep, I think that's about it. Something like that. So there we are, and I'll do it a bit closer. That's it. And hold that down so that the edges stick down too, till that's firmly in place, and it will look like that. There's my little decorative fences. And you can trim down any bits you don't like and ink any edges that you don't like afterwards if you want to. But those seem fairly, I don't like this corner piece, seems a bit high. I'm going to trim it down, and I'll probably ink that afterwards, but for now that's where it is. So now the next piece I think I'm going to do is stick these stars on, and these go on the side of the house, and all you need to do is make sure that they're sort of about the same on each side, and I think I'm going to have mine a bit like that, something like that, and try and line the one up on the other side to match. So I'm just going to use my art glitter glue, and I'm going to have it facing me so I can see where I'm putting it, and then I'll turn around and show you, turn it around and show you afterwards. So I want it fairly central. I'm having it just above the trees. Yeah, that seems a good place. And then I'll go and try and get the other one on the other side. And you need to hold it long enough that it doesn't start to slide down the wall because it hasn't finished gluing itself. Maybe push up slightly and try not to get glue everywhere, and decide where you want that. Something like that, I think. Yeah. And so, a bit like that there. The Christmas stars. Like put the one on the other side in, hopefully just about the same place. So that's that one. Let's see if I can get this one in roughly the same place. The tree's in a bit different place on this side, so it's going to have to do a slight compromise, but similar place anyway. It's meant to look folky, so it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. Try not to get glue oozing out of there, and I'm just going to zip round to the other side and see if they're roughly level. I think they are. Maybe that needs to be slightly higher. And there we go. Like that. I'll put it at your level, maybe that would help. There's one, and there's the other. So they're glued on the sides. And then we need to, I've got a chimney and a Santa. And that piece is sticking to my mat. It doesn't come into feature yet. The chimney was 4 pieces of chipboard. I glued them all together in the same way as the house with little construction strips. I then covered every side. I might need to put another one over that because I have glue on it, but for now I will just show you how I do it. And I've got one last piece to glue over, and as you can see I used red construction strips for the chimney, and I lined it with the same colour cardstock. So I'm just going to stick this last piece on the back of the chimney, and then I should have one last piece that goes inside the chimney, which again I'm looking around to see where I put it. I'll put that one on first. And I also put construction strips at the bottom to make tabs. I cut them at the corners, 45 degrees, because that's what's going to stick the chimney to the roof of the house. So they're all one on each side, and then cut, chopped 45 degrees in each corner. And I'm just looking for that missing piece. I think it's over here. So I've got the piece that sticks inside the chimneys. It might be that one, the smaller one. And I'm going to glue that into place now as well. It might need a very slight trim down just to get it in there. And that can go inside. And that's going to go in here. Now, if any of your seams don't match up, you've got a little bit of chipboard showing in any of the corners, you can run down it, as I did, with a red Sharpie and fill in the cracks. That piece isn't big enough to go over the top, but I'm going to put another piece on there because I've got glue on it. But I'm going to put this towards the back for now anyway, to show you. And oh, I've got another piece here as well, which has got a pin stuck to it. So I use the other side, and that's the last red piece to cover the chimney on the outside. And that goes here. And as you can see, because I've used red construction strips, if it doesn't match up to the edges, it's okay, because they all match up when they're in there. So there we are, complete chimney. I inked, and I think I tried a red Sharpie on the edges anyway to make them match the rest of it. I've got a chimney that's red inside and outside, and that's going to go on my roof here. And there we go. And I'm going to put it, you'll find it fits on, I'm going to put it somewhere like put it forward a bit and show you, like there, and hold it very firmly in place. And my Santa's going to be standing on that in a moment. So I'm going to glue that on. You could use hot glue again, but I'm going to use this art glitter glue. I find it does give a nice firm stick if you hold it while you're waiting for it to. And I'll go right up to the edges, but try not to put so much that it oozes all over my tiles. And in fact, I'll wipe that down a bit. I'll scribble it down a bit. With a spare bit of paper. I don't want it too bad too. Let's just smooth it out so that it doesn't ooze. And that should do it. That over there on top of the tissue. And glue that into place. I'm going to put it fairly near the top because I want to fit a heart lower down. So I'm going to put it somewhere like this, and I want to look this way because I want to make sure it's central. And I'm going to hold that until it sticks. And I've got it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's resting on the bottom of the 6th tile down. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces of that. So I'm holding that in place, and you could put a weight on it and leave it for a while. That's not a good weight, but I'll find something that, this is what I often use, something like that, and leave it to stay down. And I might do that. I think I will let you go for a minute. For me it'll be several minutes, but for you it's only a few seconds, and I'll come back when that seems happily stuck down. Okay, I'm back. That didn't really take so long as I thought to firmly stick down, and I can see, yeah, that looks pretty good. And you can push your fingers inside too and make sure all the flaps are stuck down to the tiles. And then my Santa, here he is, and this is actually craft board. And I've also got a red piece because I think he looks better red next to the roof on the back. So I'm going to, he's about 3 layers here. He's made from Cricut shimmer board. I don't know if you can see in the light, he does shimmer, and a very light cream cardstock rather than white, and there's some craft board in there that his face is. And these pieces, I'm only going to glue him down to his feet. I'm not going to glue his feet down because they're going to rest on the front of the chimney. So he's a nice solid piece. I think he's 2 pieces of mat board and 1 piece of cardstock. I did have an extra one. I don't think I'm going to use that. So I'm going to first of all glue the red cardstock to the back of the craft board. Like that. Making sure I go right up to the edges. And that's going to be that. That's the back of Santa. And then I'm gluing him, make sure everything matches up properly. I'm gluing him just down to the bottom of his trousers or pants, as you say in America, down to there, but not his feet, because that's going to bend in front of the chimney. So only to the bottom of his Santa pants, Santa trousers, and glue him to the craft board like that. So here, there he goes onto there, and line him up carefully. He's nice, solid, those pieces. And what I'm going to do is glue him to the chimney. Now you could either glue him to the front with his feet over like that, or you can glue him to the back with his feet over like that, and the back of him therefore matches the back of the chimney. I'm not going to actually glue him, oh, you can't see, can you? Let me move him forward either there or there. That's your choice. With his feet over the front, with the tab glued to the inside of the chimney, or at the back of the chimney with his feet there and the tab glued there. But I'm not doing this yet because I've got more things to do to the clock and I don't want to knock Santa out of place, so I'm going to leave him for the moment and I'll glue him on at the end. So now I think we need the clock face and the clock piece. And the clock is a pendulum clock I bought from Joann's and used a coupon for. It might be $14.99, but if you can get 40 or 50% off, that's not too bad. And so there's the pendulum part. I've got all the hands and bits here, which is probably a bad idea, but that's where they are at the moment. I'll sort those out in a second. And this is the part that holds the pendulum. Now mine has a very long spindle, and I don't know if you can get them shorter, but that's what these pieces are for. Because I don't want it to stick out of the clock an inch. So I decide how far I want it to stick out. I want it to stick out a little bit because I've got the bird flying around on the second hand, but I don't want the clock hands right out too far out the front. So if I push this through, you can see even with the chipboard house up behind it, they're still going to stick out a fair amount. So I'm going to glue some of these inside the clock to make it less on the outside. So I'm going to estimate maybe 3 would be a good start. So I'll try 3 first, and I'm going to glue those together. And I did cut out 5, mainly because I often use these, so if I don't use them in this clock I can save them and use them for another one. But it is in the pattern. If you have a long spindle you can do that, but if you don't need these. So I'm gluing 3 pieces of Cricut heavy chipboard with the hole in for the clock spindle to go through, and I'm going to actually glue these inside the clock. Like that. And I'm going to line them up on the inside, which I'll show you in a minute. Got plenty of glue so they don't slip, and I'm going to line them up with the hole on the inside to make a bit more depth for the spindle to go through, and that's doing that. And while I'm letting that stick, I'm going to creep away and grab a battery. Because these batteries are actually quite hard to get into these little clock pieces, and of course you're going to have to be able to change it in the future when the battery runs low, but the first one, hey, it's quite a good idea to put the battery in first, and then before you put the clock movement in, and it just helps a bit the first time round. So, and also you can make sure it's working. So let's see, trying to see which way up it goes. I can't read that. Oh, plus that end, and which is plus on this, yes. So I did have it the right way around. Let's move it apart. I'm going to put the battery in. They're quite a tight fit, and you sort of have to fiddle around to get them in, and when they're in the clock it's quite awkward to get to sometimes, so I'm still not in. Let's try again, do it the other way, see if it works better now. There goes my clock again. That's one of them actually, I've got 2 of those Big Ben clocks. Oh, have I got that in? Still not quite in. Oh, Let's try one more time. Yeah, now I'm in. And I don't know if it will, yes, it's working, because there goes the little pendulum. And you get it at the right angle, because if you don't have this upright, it won't go. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'm probably going to put a little bit of glue on this. If it's not as long as I want it, I can always take it out quickly and put another circle or two in. But so with the pendulum mover at the bottom, trying to get this straight, I'm going to push it through. There we are. And make sure that the clock is straight and the pendulum is moving, which I think you can see if I turn it around. I don't know if it's still moving while you're looking. Oh no, because I've moved it. But you've got to make sure that the clock is upright. And yes, it does pull it into place when you screw it, but it helps if you glue it as well. And I'm holding that a bit to get it to start to stick. Yes, the pendulum you can't see, but I'll try turning it round again, is already going. I bet that's moved out of place again. I'll put the clock face on the front, because that'll help me move the, oh, and of course I want to glue the clock face. And you can see I had a little tussle with this and stripped it off and turned it round, and yours will just be black on the back, not scrappy like this one is. I'm going to stick this into place, and when you put this into place, be very careful that you get the 12 right upright, and hold from behind, push it on, and make sure your 12 is exactly where you want it, and that the 9 and the 3 are level. And then I'm going to hold all those together for a while, and then I'll start to screw the thing together. I don't know whether the glue is helping that much, so I might have to rely on the tight screw. So that's this part in this particular kit, and I'm going to put that on, and I might need my pliers to make sure I get it as tight as I want, and hold your clock in the right position. And I'm trying to think, yes, that bit goes down to the bottom. I'm getting it on. Make sure you don't cross thread, which I am, because I'm trying to show you sideways. I may have to switch you off while I guide this into the right place. Well, I might be alright now, we'll see. No, I'm getting cross-threaded, so I'm going to switch you off for a moment, and I'm going to put this together, because you don't want to watch me fiddling back and forth trying to get that on properly. Okay, so I have got the little screw on. I had it upside down, so that didn't help. I pushed the hour hand on first. I push the minute hand on, and on this particular one there's a little screw, but all the instructions are always on the back of the, so you just need to look at that first, which probably would have helped me. I didn't bother with the gold ring because I've already got a gold background to this, and I didn't think it was necessary. But you can, and now I'm just putting the little screw in place that holds the hour hand. And I did use my pliers to tighten up the screw at the bottom. I don't know what you call it. I suppose it's like a nut, and I used my pliers to tighten that into place to make sure that the clock. And then I've got the second and minute hands, and make sure that they're not touching each other. And I've just screwed on the little nut on the top, so they look like that. There's the little nut, there's the hour hand, and there's the minute hand. and the second hand is going to have the Cardinal on it. So I will find him. He's just here. He should have a back piece, which I don't see at the moment. It's missing under all my mess here. But basically I'm going to glue him onto the end of the second hand, and I'm going to his wing, and I'm going to sandwich it with this other little piece, which is temporarily, I hope, just missing. Otherwise I will have to go and cut another one. So he's going to go on there, and I still can't see it. I know I did cut it and had it this morning and laid all these pieces out, and then as I'm going along I make a mess and can't find. It's a very small piece actually, so that's my excuse. And I can't see him, so I may have to go and cut another one rather than spend a lot of time looking for it. So I'll be back again in a moment. Well, hello again. I'm afraid the last piece of film that I took, or video, it's gone missing, so I'm not sure where that went, but I can't find it. But I think you have enough information actually to put the clock together yourself. The last piece of information you might need that I don't think I've told you about are the two pine cone shaped pieces that are meant to represent cuckoo clock weights. Each of them is made from chipboard, 2 pieces each, and sandwiched between them is a piece of chain which I made different lengths for each one, and then I attached to the inside of the clock with hot glue, and then attached the pendulum before I hung it up, and I think that's really all you need to know. So you should be able to finish that. I will post a couple of photos after this video to show you what the finished clock looked like on the wall, and that might give you some idea. And I will see you again soon. I'm thinking of making another cuckoo clock in maybe conventional wood colours. I don't think I would use actual wood for it, because I find the balsa wood and the basswood are kind of brittle and a bit fragile. I rather prefer the mat board and the chipboard, but we'll see, and I'll let you know what I decide to do. So all that's left is to give you my good wishes for the season and to say goodbye from Cherry in Florida, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.